Hello everyone, I am Berk from Hes-so Valley, and today I'll be bringing you up to speed with what we have done in digital rehabilitation using SmartEdge. And I'll start with our objectives. So in short, our objectives is to create a prototype with dynamic and self-organizing wearables to support head and neck rehabilitation. So now dynamic and self-organizing is actually for the number of sensors and the sensor placement. What I mean is if a certain sensor with a certain tasking dies in the middle of the exercise, then we should be able to just replace it on the flight before the user goes cold in the exercise. And toward that end, we are integrating a stream of data from wearable sensors placed on different body parts so that we can facilitate continuous home-based physiotherapy through near real-time feedback and data analytics. But we are not exactly real-time, we are near real-time because the mission is not that critical. In the end of the day, if the person is not correcting himself on the flight at the exact same time, hopefully they won't die. And because of this, the digital rehabilitation has been increased in over like traditional methods. Now, traditional physiotherapy heavily relies on the manual skills and episodic observation of therapists. Just to see who can sympathize with me here. Has anyone been to physiotherapy before? Okay, so that's a lot of people. So you know how it goes, right? You go there, and if you're lucky, they give you an electric shock or some ice bath or therapy or heat therapy. And at the end, they make you do exercises that they expect you to continue at home. And in some cases, actually, this is like normally effective and it's like very highly successful. But in some cases, if these exercises are not perpetuated correctly, they can lead to like delayed healing times, extra pain, and etc. So, and we can't really assign a a real therapist at home to observe you. We don't have that kind of resource every day. So we need some kind of digital tool that can detect if you're doing something wrong and then just correct you on the flight, so that when you're repeating these exercises or during the exercise itself, you can just correct it and move on. Especially this is very important for the people in pain because they are more susceptible to make mistakes during their exercises because pain makes you sometimes stop halfway, especially with a friend of mine who had a couple screws on his arm, and he doesn't mind talking about this. So he was like trying to extend his arm, but he would start feeling pain despite he has to go on, but he stopped there because of the pain. Now this kind of system we expect him to continue going on for his to quicken his treatment. Now our challenges are, as I said, running near real-time analysis. Basically, as he does it, we should be able to show him, okay, you did something wrong, now correct it and do it again if you must. And we plan to utilize semantic-based orchestration. This is so we can use heterogeneous sensors without having to know what the sensor is capable of. Basically, the idea is to push the knowledge of what sensor is capable of to the sensor itself. So the sensor tells me that, okay, I can do this capacity. If you need me there, I can go and handle that. And I'll explain this further in the architecture. And dynamic adaptation and scalability. If the system, as I said, the sensor dies, I need to be able to replace that quickly. And to provide personalization based on the required therapy of the user. So how can we build a system that provides real-time feedback to the user for physical rehabilitation? We are building a mobile application that can show you your progress on a 3D model, on a digital twin kind of. And we are basically going to be applying the stream of sensor data onto the model so that, as I said, the user sees what they're doing and what they're doing wrong. This is our overall architecture. It's a bit of a simplified version. This is our user, the green dress lady. She's got 3 sensors on shoulders and the head. This way we can mostly model the motion of the head and neck. Or the shoulders are also important because some exercises we use the shoulders to compensate. So the orchestrator is actually the system that holds the entire knowledge of therapies and what exercises correspond to therapies and what these exercises need. But this knowledge is queried by the coordinator during the time of like when we run the exercise. So a bit of a technical detail. It's very hard to make it work with Flutter, to make 3D models run on Flutter, because until recently they did not support 3D models, but they have published a new preview in the upcoming months. They will natively render 3D models. But we are using right now web graphics language, provided we have a web interface on the mobile. This is our little guy. So we have a carded from Maximo, if you know it. It's like a 3D model. It's like somewhere that you can publish 3D models. And basically 3JS to render this model. So yes, basically we use this avatar to replicate the user's movement on the mobile device. So how do we get this information? We use Thingy52 sensors. These Thingy52 sensors are actually Nordic Semiconductor's prototyping device, I would say. It has got all kinds of sensors nearly, like it has got a 9-axis motion sensor and humidity, etc., whatever you might need. But for this one, we are using accelerometer, gyroscope, and compass to model the motion. So in our use case, we are putting the sensors on the user's head and shoulders, and we just continuously stream the data from the sensors using Bluetooth addresses. And we use basically Bluetooth low energy technology from the sensors, and the way we observe the data from the sensors is we use quaternions. This is a very simplified view of quaternions, but I put it because most of the time people never really heard of it anyway. But if you have heard it, I'm sorry that I have made such a simple graphic of it. Basically, the quaternions help us represent orientations in a 3D space. It's like completely, it's very easy to interpolate and combine rotations to when we are calculating the final rotation of the human body. To briefly summarize how we use them, we use the displacement of the rotation of the sensors, which I will explain in a second, to estimate where the body position might be at the next step, instead of trying to apply it over and over again. And the important part is we are considering ourselves near real time, because this data is output at 100 Hertz, so it's like, I think, 10 times a second. And yes, it provides very high amount of information. Now, how do we use this quaternion orientation from the sensor? We basically apply the QNew we acquire here to the model itself. We exploit the human body assumptions. For instance, if I have the sensor on my shoulder and the sensor makes this kind of a rotation, I easily estimate that this movement corresponds to my shoulder's forward move. So it's basically an orbit around the shoulder joint. And for the head, it's much easier though. For the head, if you place it on the head, the orientation of the sensor corresponds directly to the head's movement, which is very easy. And we set some constraints for the rotational displacement to see whether like the limb moved and which direction it moved and how much it moved. And basically, for the time being, we only check if the orientation has changed in a way we wanted it to, or if it was a false move. And at the moment, we are also collecting this data to build some future analysis, like whether it's like, it might be some data-driven model that detects like labeled by us for whether if it's a correct move or a false move, for instance, is one of them. So here we start to integrate semantic knowledge. In the earlier graph, this is a zoomed-in version. We have a coordinator and the variable nodes. These nodes are supposed to be smarter in the future, but currently they only join the coordinator, and the coordinator has the knowledge what these sensors are capable of. Basically, it just matches the description of the sensors with the exercise tasks coming from the orchestrator, the higher cloud part of it. And the coordinator, basically, the dynamic nature is achieved through the coordinator. The coordinator arranges where the sensors are supposed to be, and then what kind of data is supposed to come from them, and basically uses the exercise description to check which sensor assigned where, has to have which kind of angle, how the angle should change over time, and etc. I'm going a bit faster than I wanted to. Anyway, we are also collaborating with some physiotherapists in Hes-so. It should be Simone, or Dr. Simone here. This is a sample exercise. I'll quickly show you. So the idea is to engage the head and neck movement as much as we can without compensating using the shoulders, because when you are making this movement, if your neck hurts, for instance, you are more likely to lean forward with your back instead of just moving your head up and down. And also similarly, if you do left and right in a similar exercise, you are likely to compensate with your shoulder when your shoulder moves forward, backward, depending on the movement, which is not an ideal case in our scenario. So this is a very simple overview. Like we have gone a bit farther than this in our newest prototype, but this is how we represent in the RD, in JSON LD our knowledge data. The important part here should be the exercise plan. It's like repetitions, we need repetitions, and like what kind of measurements we have. We have acceleration, etc. And then we have the sensor information to the right. And basically the capacity of this sensor is an accelerometer. For instance, the Thingy 55, this is for the Thingy 55 specifically. So this event is matched with this exercise definition, and then we decide on the discovery of devices whether this sensor is capable of being in a certain position of the exercise. Given, like an example is, can a Thingy 52 be put on the shoulder to record the shoulder movement? If yes, by the definition, then we simply replace that on the flight. This is a demonstration of our, too much noise, sorry about that. This is our latest demonstration, and that's Davide. He could not attend, unfortunately. A bit of a makeshift method. We are a bit behind on the logistics. The idea is that both the shoulders like have one sensor and head has one, and then this movement is modeled on the application. You're going to see some errors here and there because it is a bit hard to, as you can see, it's not that healthy to move that head like that, but we are counting the amount of reaches and compensations in a given time period. And the reach corresponds to a correct movement, and a compensation corresponds to a false move that is something we should avoid. So actually, as I said, I went a bit faster than I expected. So ultimately, we have a Flutter-based mobile application to monitor exercises and provide real-time feedback. We are trying to utilize the centralized knowledge in Edge nodes to combine heterogeneous sensor capabilities in exercises. In the future, we are trying to bring like different kinds of sensors. Right now, the use case is really simple, and we can model it using the Thingy sensors on body parts. But for instance, we can incorporate camera to apply some sensor fusion to correct the drifts as you've seen earlier, and also for more complicated scenarios that require multimodality of sensors, multiple types of data. And yes, this is it.